President Donald Trump has pardoned several of his allies, including some of his co-defendants, indicted in connection with an alleged scheme to interfere with the 2020 presidential election. Just a couple of names on that pardon list. Well, you recognize all of them, but two specifically, Rudy Giuliani and the president's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. So let's talk about this. Going live to CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane for us on a Monday in Washington. Scott, these pardons only apply to federal charges, not the state charges. So what's the impact here?
Hey, Reed, this is a big statement without a big practical impact. This list of names may seem somewhat familiar to you because these were the names that were associated with efforts to overturn the 2020 election, including in those swing states that decided the election. Those names like Rudy Giuliani, like Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff, the attorney John Eastman. They're now pardoned for their efforts to overturn the election, but they were not facing federal charges for doing so. They were, in some cases, indirectly referenced in Donald Trump's federal criminal case for election subversion, but they themselves weren't charged. So they're being pardoned for something they're not charged for. They do face some local legal exposure, some of them do, in states or in communities. These pardons wouldn't apply there. But Reed, look at the bigger picture. This statement of pardons comes as the president has resumed claiming the 2020 election was rigged. This type of move amplifies those baseless claims once again, nearly 5 years later.
That's the ripple effect here. I want to ask you about another headline-making story. Two MLB pitchers have been indicted in that alleged betting scandal. What charges are leveled now against Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase?
Conspiracy and fraud. Those are federal felonies. They face the prospect of long prison terms and fines if they were to be convicted or plead guilty to these charges. But one of them is not even in custody yet, Mr. Clase, and Mr. Ortiz is to face a judge at the federal courthouse in Boston later today. The statement given to us by an attorney for Mr. Ortiz is that he is innocent and that he would never mess with a game the way is alleged in this case. Here's the bottom line on the case, Reed. These are two pitchers who were accused of tanking certain pitches in a scheme with gamblers so the gamblers could bet against them, make money, and kick some of it back to the players. Very symmetrical to the allegations in the NBA gambling case we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where a player is accused of reporting out of the game with an injury, but warning gamblers first he'd do so they could bet against him. He denies any misconduct. This really is quite a set of cases coming out of the Brooklyn federal courthouse, and we will see where they move from here. But there are an awful lot of people with an awful lot of interest in what these cases end up being.
All right, Scott MacFarlane tracking it all. Thank you so much, as always.